part of who we are and what we do. Okay. Um, but as disaster spiritual care, we provide what I call a ministry of presence to our clients. Okay. Um, our goal is to provide them with a sense of hope and a sense of care, um, in a time where they feel lost and as if there is no hope in their lives. Whether we are working with those in our region, those that are home, those that are here at home with us, they've lost everything in a fire. Um, and it can be tragic and traumatic. They may have lost loved ones in their home fires. We have had an uptick of people who've lost their pets, and that is traumatic for people when they lose their pets. Um, or whether we're working on a DRO, where they've lost in flooding, not just their homes, but they've seen their neighbors' homes lost in floods or tornadoes or wildfires. We are working with people who've had major traumas. And our responsibility is to provide them with a sense of hope, a sense of someone there to listen and to be there at their time of greatest need. It is not necessarily, I want to make sure you understand, it's not necessary to swoop in and pray right away and, let them know that, oh my gosh, we're here to pray with you. We do pray, we do, but it's only if they ask for it or we may get a sense that they need it. We work with people who have faith traditions or don't have faith traditions. Um, it 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 is across the gamut. Okay. We work with national with no oh my gosh, I can't remember this, but we use the tenet that we do not enforce anything upon people that they do not want. Okay. And so we are non-denominational, non-faith-based. We come in with a very clear sense that we treat people as if we don't know their faith tradition and we don't impose our faith traditions upon anybody else. Okay. And I am sure, having talked to Suzette in the training that you all have received, that's exactly what you all did as a Fairfax Chaplains Corps as well. So what we do, what all of our work within the community is virtual. Okay. We handle all our calls virtually. And we do something a little bit different in the Central Atlantic Division. Okay. National Capital Greater Chesapeake is in the Central Atlantic Division. And we have National Capital Greater Chesapeake. We have Virginia, West Virginia, Northern Ohio, Central Ohio, Kentucky, and I'm missing one.
Central Virginia, Central and Southern Ohio, Northern Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, which is Central Appalachia. I think
that's Central Appalachia. That's
which includes West Virginia.
Yeah, that's a big spread. Okay. And in those those different regions. Central Appalachia is still waiting to get their first volunteer approved. Okay. Right now they have none, but they've got one on the burner. Okay. Kentucky only has 2 for their whole region. And what we were doing is playing catch up. Like, we would have to get somebody approved to go into their region through our SeaCare, which is our system that we record, to take their referrals and then log in, do all this. It was a constant back and forth. And so 2 years ago, we started a pilot program where we knocked down the borders. And we said, this is not working. We have some regions that have a lot of volunteers, but they're not being utilized because they have so many volunteers. They can handle all their referrals, and then they're just not being utilized. But we have some regions who have a lot of referrals, but they can't handle them because they don't have any volunteers. So we knocked down all the borders, and now we handle them across the borders with all the volunteers sharing. So the way we handle our referrals is that we have a calendar, an on-call calendar, and you sign up for your own days on a virtual shift. And that means that you sign up for a day, and you don't have to sit in front of the computer and wait. You don't have to do anything. That's just your day. And the duty officer at the end of that day will send you your referrals. And you have 10 days to take care of your referrals. That gives you ample time between your day and the time that we ask you to close them to work your referrals. And I ask that you usually wait until at least the second day, maybe even the third, to contact them, because the first day, after a fire or anything traumatic, they're being hit by the caseworker who's trying to get in touch with them because they need to find a place to stay and make sure they've got a roof over their heads, because we can't help anybody if their basic needs aren't met, right? You know, they need their food, they need a place to stay, they need to make sure their basic needs are met. So they're being contacted that first day by their health needs. Do they need medication? All those things need to be met. And we're working with all of those people together, right? And then, so all of those, the caseworker and the health services, they're trying to get all of those things met. And that usually takes a day or two. And their heads are spinning about, wow, what just happened? Usually by the second or third day, reality is hit. They've gotten a place to stay. They've gotten their medication, and then they're like, wow, where am I? What has happened? What am I going to do? They're ready now to have somebody to talk to them. And that's where we come in. And there is where we provide someone to talk to, someone to listen, someone to provide them that hope and support to get them through and help them find their support. And our goal is to help connect them to someone within their community who can continue that long-term support. Okay. So that's what we do. You may be talking to someone from Central Appalachia or Ohio or Kentucky. Okay. But spiritual care is spiritual care, whether you're in National Capital or Kentucky. It doesn't matter. We're still providing the same services. And you may make one contact and they may say, thank you, I'm good. Or they may say, can you can you do a follow-up? Can you check back on me? Sometimes I've done one, sometimes I've done a couple. They may say, will you pray with me? Or you may get a sense. Sometimes I get a sense, um, just from the conversation that they might want a prayer. And I'll ask, would you like a prayer? And I'll pray with them. Uh, from your experiences, from your experience, you'll know that. Okay. And you get training. We do give you disaster spiritual care fundamentals. Yolanda and I were just talking about that. It's not, we're working on offering that more and more, but, you know, it's a sense, and we'll give you a little training on that. But so that's how we handle our referrals. Then you will close the case out, our referral on the case. And that's how you do it. And usually on most of your days, the most referrals you'll get are 6. So you will probably have about 6 calls to make. And you sign up for your days based on your availability, okay, throughout the month. We ask that every volunteer serve at least one day a month, 2 if possible, because we like to have 2 on board. But the more volunteers we get, the easier that's going to be. And so that's why we're blessed that, the more volunteers that we can recruit, the easier this is going to be. But so 6 per day, sometimes less, depends on, the season and whether we've got people deployed or not, vacation or not, sick or not, those kind of things. And I'm going to tell you that this is a very, and sometimes of those six calls, you might not even reach all 6 of those. We ask that you call 3 times. Well, we ask that you try to reach them 3 times in at least 2 different ways. You can send a text or you can call, and you can do that from inside the case. Okay. So if you send a text and you call and then you send another text and they don't respond, close it out by saying, no response from the client. So out of those 6, you might get only 3 that you actually talk to. Unfortunately, sometimes in the heat of the moment, they might say, yes, I want every service that you offer. And then as things settle down, they say, yeah, I don't need to talk to them. And they just don't respond. Sometimes our data employees, in their zealousness to provide them every service that we have, say, yes, they need everything. And they really don't need everything. So, and we love them, and I understand that, and that's good. So we don't always get a response from everyone. So even if you get 6 calls, you might not get 6. But I guarantee you that the one you talk to is going to be the one that needs you the most. Okay. So I tell every volunteer, don't get frustrated if you got 6 referrals and you only talk to one, because that one is the one that needed you the most. Okay. And the calls that you make and the calls that you talk to will touch your heart. And if you deploy, the other opportunity that you have will be to deploy to disaster relief operations. We currently have 8. I can't even name them all, but I think there's 3 in Kentucky right now. There's a couple in Tennessee for tornadoes. I don't know where the other ones are. I have been to to wildfires, to tornadoes, to floods, to hurricanes, and I went to the shooting and the school shooting in Uvalde. Okay. I can tell you that there is at least one client from every DR that I remember. There will be one that will touch your heart so deeply that you will bring them home with you. It is long and exhausting and tiring work, but it is work that you will remember. And I loved every long, tiring minute of it. So if you are interested in deploying, I would encourage you to do that as well. Every from the hurricanes to the tornadoes to the floods, all of them have been something that the time I gave would be something that I wouldn't change. Yolanda?
Thank you for sharing that, Linda. I just wanted to add too that, occasionally there are also disaster relief operations that we support in our region. Our team
Exactly.
supported the DCA plane crash a couple of months ago in working with the
Absolutely.
NTSB and supporting families in their family assistance center. So, not often, but, there are all kinds of disasters, and we do, receive some in our region as well. So
in your
just
region,
wanted
you
to add that.
also have, not often, but seems like more than usual lately, large apartment fires, because you have those large apartment buildings that you also tend to have. They're smaller level DRs, but you do have them because you have so many large apartment buildings. So that is something to also consider as you move forward and get a little bit more experience in disaster spiritual care. So that's what we do and how we do it, and a little bit about our team works very well together. We support one another. We meet monthly as a whole team, even though you have regional leads in each team, but we do work together as a team. We have, you go through the training, you're expected to be trained to do this work, but Red Cross trains you in how to do it the Red Cross way as far as what we do and how we do it. And then you get a individual one-on-one session with how to do RC care, which is our system in logging and what to do with that, so that you know how to work the case. We do have funds to give. Get off of here. It's my cat. She wants to be a part of the meeting. We have $50 that we can give each person who is listed on the case for a loss of any kind of spiritual article, Bibles, Korans, prayer cloths, anything that is a spiritual item that they may have lost in the disaster. So we do have $50 per person that we are able to provide to help replace anything that they may have lost, which is, I think that's only about the second year that maybe we've been able to give that, but that's just a little something that we can offer to help. And we've encouraged people to ask, did you lose anything that we might be able to help you replace? And the other thing that I think it's important is listening to see if we need to refer to our partners. They usually get the health services but sometimes, if you hear that maybe if they haven't been referred to mental health, and that might be a something that they could use, we can always do that as well. I share this story when I was in the wildfires in California. When people talk about Jesus, people naturally assume that they need spiritual care, right? So I was serving in a small shelter, and somebody came in and came to the shelter, and one of the volunteers came in and they said, "Oh, there's somebody outside that needs to talk to you." I said, "Okay, all right." So I went outside, and clearly we are seeing this more and more when we are in disasters. We're seeing the is it unhoused that we're calling them now? Um, and so I went outside, and this person had come to the shelter, and he was definitely talking about Jesus. Yes, he was talking about Jesus, but in a very manic way. And so I sat down with him and I talked with him for a few minutes, and it was very clear that he did not need to talk to me as a spiritual care person. He was manic, and what he needed was mental health, not spiritual care. So I chatted with him for a few minutes, and I said, "My friend, um, I have I have a friend inside that I think would be very helpful for you to talk with. You just wait right here. I'm going to go inside and get my friend, and we're going to come back out here and talk to you together." So I went inside and I got the mental health worker that was inside, and I said, "I think there's someone out here who needs to talk with you, and you're way better equipped at this than I am. So how about coming out here with me and talking with this gentleman?" So this was definitely a mental health referral and not a spiritual care referral, but because he said Jesus, automatically I was a person who needed to help this gentleman, which was okay because I talked with him and figured out this was not me, it was mental health. But so we need to listen sometimes and figure out we need to do a referral. And we got, he talked to him. We He called the mental health crisis line, got this gentleman some services, and got what we need to do. But we work hand in hand as a team in the Red Cross to make sure we get our clients what they need when they need it. So everything worked out fine. Any questions? I've given you lots and lots of information, I know, but I wanted to kind of give you an overview of what we do. Any questions, anything at all, just come off of mute and ask.
Is your training in person or virtual or online?
Um, all of the training is online, either video or web-based, except for one. The one that is virtual instructor-led is Disaster Spiritual Care Fundamentals. Okay, that's the only one that is virtual instructor-led, and it is about 11 hours.
So it's
Okay.
individual, it's pacing, you pace yourself.
Yes, you pace yourself except for that one class. Okay. Dan, did you have a question?
Well, one of my questions was just kind of making the assumption that people in a disaster have a way to be in a virtual visit with you. I mean, if they've lost everything, how are they able to have a virtual visit?
Well, we use phones. We talk by phone, and it was very difficult, I think, for people in the beginning. But I almost think that COVID has made it more normal, if that makes sense. And I have not, I think as pastors, we prefer, obviously, to be face to face, but I have not had any issue with doing phone conversations with people. It has worked.
Yeah, I'm not bothered by a virtual visit. I'm just questioning if someone's lost everything in their home, how do we know they have a phone?
Interestingly enough, almost everybody saves their cell phone.
Hmm.
Or is or has a friend that they have a cell phone. Very few times do we get a case that they don't have a cell phone.
Okay.
I don't, that's an interesting question, Jan, but we don't come, Yolanda, do we come across very many cases that don't have a cell phone?
We honestly don't. Surprisingly, we don't. I think people, it's right there, and people grab their phones, or like you said, like Linda said, they may use a friend's phone, or they work to get their phone replaced very quickly, because I mean, communication is so essential when you're, recovering from a disaster.
Yeah.
Occasionally, and we also try to, when the cases are created, when our disaster action teams respond, we also try to get an alternate number, an alternate way of contacting clients, whether it's another person in the household who has a phone. It could be a spouse or an adult child, or if they don't have a phone, a family friend or relative as well. So, but yeah, most people do have access to a phone.
That is a very good question, though.
It is.
We just don't run across very many.
So another question, what are the qualifications? Are all of your volunteers pastors?
Our qualifications are certified chaplains, or ordained into a denomination where you have experience in working with pastoral care. And you can certainly be retired, but we ask that you've had experience in working in pastoral care.
Okay. I've had experience in working with pastoral care, but not ordained. And I've been trained in pastoral care and counseling through a program at Ohio Christian University.
Okay.
And I do work in leadership in those in my church.
Okay.
And I have people that I contact, by phone or email or text to check on them.
Then, yeah, and we work individually with people as far as that goes. We just want to make sure that people, the volunteers that we, and you went through the training for Fairfax Chaplaincy Corps, right?
No, I went through some online training, but not face to face, because the pandemic hit at the same time and everything was closed.
Okay. We
So,
we look at each person individually and what you have, and we would look at what you have and what credentials you have individually.
okay.
We just want to make sure that the volunteers that we accept have training in working with people in a pastoral care, trauma related area. And if you've worked with Fairfax Chaplains Corps, I would say that would certify you. The one thing, the issue we often have, and I know people, and they probably, no, not probably, they are very good people with very good hearts. But sometimes we get people that say, I've taught Sunday school for 10 years and I want to be a disaster spiritual care worker. They're not trained to actually deal with some of the trauma that they might come up against. And, you know, even though they have compassion, compassion sometimes is not enough for them or for the people they'll be working with, to sustain them or the people, our clients. You know, that's what we want to, you know, avoid when we screen people.
So if you want to coordinate care with another person on the team, how does that work? Is there a phone tree or a roster of people that you call and say this person needs a call, or what, how do you do that?
Within our referral system, within the RC Care, which is our system where we do all our notes and things, you can do a referral right in there. If they don't already, if there isn't a referral, say there isn't a referral for mental health in there, but you feel like maybe there should be, you can make an internal referral for DMH and make a note in the feed that says, in speaking with this client, client feels he would benefit from speaking with a mental health worker. And then you would make a referral right within the case records. Yolanda?
And I just wanted to add, and you can also, all RC Care users, of course, we have different user roles, but you can also, if someone is assigned in another activity to work with the client, let's say you see notes from their caseworker or from their health services, and you want to speak with that person, their name would be hyperlinked, and you can click on their name to get their contact, you know, their phone number and email so that you can call them. And we do encourage that collaboration between the activities. So I was right in the system.
Yolanda, can you take it from here for a moment?
Sure.
And so what's the next step past the orientation?
So the next step, if you're interested in proceeding, would be to register as a Red Cross volunteer. And we are prepared to put the link in the chat. Because you would have to go through our volunteer services team, which handles all new volunteer referrals. There's a process, a self-guided process. It includes a background check. And what we'll also do is provide your names to our onboarding team so they can be on the lookout for the referrals as well. So we want to make this as seamless as possible.
So please click on the chat now because you all won't have access to the chat after. So click on it so you can open it up in your, your internet, and then you can have it.
And if you scroll all the way, to the bottom of the page, and there's a place where it says apply now. So, because I know there's a lot on that page. I clicked on it earlier. Of course, when I clicked on that, it wouldn't allow, didn't give me because I'm already registered, of course, so it wouldn't give me what you all would see. But I know the apply now button was kind of toward the bottom. So. And of course, they always have. We're always needing volunteers in all positions. But I know there were some other positions that were kind of highlighted at the top. But you can scroll past those.
I'm clicking on it and it's not pulling anything up for me. Is anyone else having trouble with that?
You mean you're clicking on the link in the chat?
Is that what clicking on the link in the chat.
Okay, let me do it a different way.
Okay.
You tested it too, Suzette, didn't you?
I did, but
Okay.
sometimes in Teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
you can you can email it to me. That'd be fine too.
Okay.
that's what I'm
Do
that's what
that.
I'm doing right now.
Oh.
Okay, great.
I emailed it to both of you right now, so click on it to see if that link works. Because I did try it, yes. Seems to be working.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. It's amazing that it would make a difference, whether it's the links in the
Yeah.
chat or emailed. I tell you, technology is something. It is something. So, well, we really appreciate you ladies taking, time out of your busy schedules to join this meeting, getting more information, for your willingness to join us in this mission. It's a huge mission, that's for sure. So much is going on all the time. And, it used to be where there was, very somewhat distinct, hurricane season, there's, tornado season. Now the way the organization describes it is that we're in a state of continuous response. There's just always,
Right.
there are always multiple, unfortunately, larger level disaster relief operations happening around the country. I mean, the LA wildfires, for example, normally January is kind of our, slow season, right? It's between hurricane season, but tornado season hasn't started, or flooding season. But then, you have this massive wildfire, in January. So, we just do our best to, provide comfort and support and resources to people and helping them. So, and I know the disasters, with global warming and other atmospheric issues, disasters are predicted to happen more frequently and affect more people. So,
So Yolanda, so once they click on the link and apply, did you talk through the next steps so that they'll know what happens and what they can expect, just the
Sure.
process.
Sure. And once you go through, I know there are probably about 8 steps. I've seen it. Can't say that I've been through it in a very long time, so I don't remember. But it's pretty self-guided. It'll tell you each step of the way, what's happening and what information is needed. Once you complete that process, the screening team from our volunteer services department will reach out, but we're going to supply them with your names so that they're looking for your application to come through the queue, because it is a queue that it will have to go through. And once you go through volunteer services, they'll refer you to disaster cycle services, because they do intake referrals for all of the different lines of services and activities. But of course, once you finish the initial onboarding and application, they'll refer you to disaster workforce engagement, specifically for disaster, which will get you to our spiritual care team. So it is a process. We ask for your patience. We certainly want to make it as streamlined as possible. You had a question, Jan?
Yeah. Does any of the Fairfax County training, like I think I did that disaster first aid, spiritual first aid, or whatever course a while back. Does any of that transfer or no? You take it again? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I apologize for stepping away. That was my vet, and I needed to talk with them about our dog. But unfortunately, no. All of that is Red Cross based, and it is about 11 hours, but you do it on your own. And they're short, quick, either videos or paste, web-based. And the only one that you have to schedule is the Disaster Spiritual Care Fundamentals, which is virtual instructor. And we're working on trying to figure out how best to get that done, because it is disaster season quickly, and we're trying to get those done as quickly as possible together, maybe in small groups, so we can get people onboarded quicker.
Alright, so, does anyone have any last minute questions that we need to ask? If you all have if you all have questions, Linda and Yolanda, after we end this call, do you guys want them to reach out to you directly? How do you want that to
I
work?
can give them Yolanda, is it okay if I give them my email?
Sure.
If they have any questions or problems with the process?
Yep. If that's okay, I can add your email to the link I just sent them.
Okay, you have that, right, Suzette?
Yep, I have your email. I do.
I'd be happy, if they get stuck or have some questions or whatever, along the way, and you'll be, I'll be working with you in the process. So,
Yep. So I am doing that right now. And I am sending it. And then if anyone else reaches out to me, those who signed up to attend, reach out to me. I will send them this video and have them connect directly with
perfect,
you,
yeah.
Linda. Yep, that's why I wanted to record it. And I'm actually going to end the recording now. Yes, I'm going to end it now. Okay.